Let's see if I can hold that.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Let's Talk MB Geeks. Let's Talk. I am one of your panelists, MB Geeks, and tonight, folks, we are going to do a transition. Normally, we have a nice, comfortable, relaxing, civil conversation down in Tenfoward. Well, we ain't fucking doing that tonight. We're going to Quarks Bar, damn it! And we are going to get loud, and we're going to be a little upset. So when you look for this in the playlist section and the next day or so, look for Quarks Bar. That's where it's going to be. And tonight, let me talk to some of the folks I have. The man who has always been here, the awesome ambassador.
In the immortal words of Derek Zoolander, what is this? A cartoon for ants?
And then also one of my other regular panelists, Mir, the gravitationally adept.
Yeah, still fat.
He is working on one of the most awesome Star Trek replica starships we're ever going to see eventually.
Yeah,
but we
someday.
haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, but Mir,
Someday.
Yeah.
but Mir, you'll never be as fat as Orson Welles or Marlon Brando.
No, that's kind of my goal that I'm striving to.
That's a whole other story for
And
another time.
and also here tonight, special guest, someone who's been on one of my other streams before. Loved having him on. Great to have him back. Him and I, we hit it off on Twitter. We throw a net out, and trolls just somehow want to just play with us. But I don't have near the crazy candor he does. Some of the things he says, some of the things that the people who's blocked him, I have bowed to his wisdom. I take notes from this guy when it comes to it. Jack Beers, way too many beers. It's good
Thank
to have
you.
y'all back on, man.
Thank you. You flatter me.
It's been a while since you've been back, so I figured why not?
Yeah, and it's appropriate. We're going to Quarks Bar, and we have a man with the last name Beer in his last name.
And I have a beer.
Very quickly to the chat,
I'm
Michelle
drinking a
Evans,
fruity. I got a fruity
Mm-hmm.
drink. I got a fruity drink. No
You would.
sponsors. No sponsorship here, though.
You would, you big fruit. You with your fruity ponytail.
Okay, folks. I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I'm gonna say this. After seeing STD and STP, which I have lovingly become to call to say, one is a disease, a sexual disease. One is used to wipe your ass. Now we have literally, and I think it would be appropriate to call it SLD, because obviously if you're on that much LSD, you're not going to know how to put the letters together anyway. I don't know.
I would call it lower expectations.
Phew. Okay, full disclosure, I have never seen Rick and Morty. It never looked interesting to me, so I've never seen it. But I don't know who is somebody, anybody, please, for the love of God, I don't care if you're in the chat, Positive Candor, Michael Evans, anybody. Who is this show supposed to be for? Who is this supposed to be for?
People who have never seen Star Trek.
The brain damaged?
I'm thinking it's people who like Rick and Morty, and I guess that's it, because it's definitely not Star Trek.
It's Rick and Morty mixed with like Teen Titans Go.
Right, like Teen Titans Go. Like I don't know. The animation is very bad. It's very bad.
Yeah, I look. There's not that many animation shows I really like. In fact, Madam Geekin said when we talked about the last few that we love the Clone Wars, and when it came to kids cartoons that we really liked on Disney, as a family, Phineas and Ferb. I mean, you want to talk about just having a good, fun time watching just a good, fun thing. But yeah, as far as Rick and Morty, I mean, I understand this is supposedly done by the guy who did Rick and Morty, which I don't see how that makes any justification to it, because one of the guys who did Phineas and Ferb also did South Park. Yeah, that was on his resume when he went over to Disney to pitch, this show Phineas and Ferb, which was just a total kids show completely. So, but here's the biggest thing. Who are you trying to market this to? Discovery is not for kids. Picard definitely wasn't for kids.
Nope.
This show is, as Madame said, looks like something on, and I love how she said it. She goes, it looks like something that would be on Adult Swim, and something that you would watch at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning because there's nothing else on.
That's exactly it.
Or that's the type of stuff it reminded me of was the Adult Swim. It was because I remember Adult Swim used to play a lot of anime, and my ex-wife used to watch that all the time, and so that's what I used to know it as. And then one time I turned it on, and it was that what is it called? That cartoon with the Big Mac and the shake and the fries as characters.
Aqua Team
Hunger Force.
And it just seemed a little too absurd for me. And it seemed like there was an audience for it, of course, because there was more cartoons that came out like that. And it kind of feels like one of those cartoons.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If I might interject. Humor oftentimes is subjective. But you sometimes have to say, no, this is too stupid. And I'm going to say this. Animation giants like Chuck Jones and Ian Freeling, and I could list so many others, are rolling in their graves at this garbage called Star Trek Lower Decks, because the animation style isn't even inventive. It isn't original. It's recycled from Rick and Morty. Now, I have watched a few episodes of Rick and Morty, and honestly, for me, I just did not care for it. I'm sure there are a lot of people who do, and that is fine. But
I didn't hate it. I just didn't like it.
Yeah. But this is a slap in the face of every hardcore Star Trek fan. Now, I am not a hardcore Star Trek fan. Everybody knows this, but I do enjoy it because it's good sci-fi. This is not even good science fiction. It is infantile. It is immature. It doesn't even appeal to the lowest common denominator. It's below the lowest common denominator. This is something, all right, I'm going to go just a smidgen political for half a second. This is something that someone on the far left would watch.
Well,
let's remember a few years back. Okay, well, hey, let's remember this. A few years back, before Disney bought Star Wars, George Lucas commissioned with Seth Green, the guy from Robot Chicken, right? And they made that Star Wars Detours, and it was shelved. They had, I think, 20-something episodes already made, and it got shelved during the acquisition. But if you go on YouTube, you'll find certain trailers for it. And to be honest, it was really just funny. But none of us, we all understood, hey, George Lucas is poking fun at himself. He's letting these guys make a joke about things. You can get behind that and say, okay, this is funny. You got the jokes behind it. They were quite humorous. I was actually looking forward to seeing that Detours. Of course, it had nothing to do with canon or anything. It just looked fun, looked entertaining, looked laughable. Watching Admiral Ackbar go, wait, it's a rap, it's a frap, it's a shrap, it's a trap. Oh man, thank God! I got to get back to work. I've been trying to figure that out all day. It was humorous, but there was nothing funny in any point of this trailer. I saw nothing humorous.
It looked like it was supposed to be a comedy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. and I'm going to go out and just say something here before I actually get to my true rant. Is that anyone here who has ever decided to volunteer for military service should be looking at this thing and just be insulted as all fucking hell.
Oh, I am.
You know, here you have people who are supposed to be ensigns, and yes, I get it, lower tier officers, but officers nonetheless, showing up and sitting on a shuttlecraft naked. Come on,
right?
All right, this that irritates me to no end. So yeah, I'm going to shut up for a little bit.
No. I want to hear your rant, Mir. Go for it. Go ahead.
I'm ready for it.
All right, so
I'm ready. Go.
From the producers and the from the people who brought us the brick that was Mikey Spock, and and the shell of a man that was Star Trek Picard, now comes our latest iteration, which is Star Trek. How about I give you a spoon so you could eat my ass? If you hated them before, you're going to hate it now with a passion. And my wife is up here in the room, and she's staring me down like, what the fuck is he talking about now?
And folks, Ambassador, we got to figure out how to snip that clip right there.
Yeah, I mean, really, though, this is like where, Jesse, talk about what you were talking about, with, you knew that this thing was satire. Yes, it's not actually creating new Star Trek or Star Wars. It was mocking and putting in a satirical fashion what was already there, already existing, already on record. They're not actually creating new Star Wars stories. They're just taking what's there and poking fun at it. This is actually creating new Star Trek episode and boldly going where no Star Trek should ever go, which is right up the ass of whoever is making this shit.
Okay, let's remember. Let's go back. You want to talk about? You want to do satire with Star Trek? Okay, In Living Color did it. Saturday Night Live did it.
Mm-hmm.
They at least made it satire and fun, where you're like, okay, this is completely silly, but we get the jokes. Whereas when you're trying to sit here and say, and yeah, this is the thing I've been trying to figure out. Are they going to try and say that this show is canon? I mean, if you're going to try and tell me this is canon, but yet, hold on a second.
Uh-oh, he got up.
If you're going to try and tell me that animated shit is canon, and you're going to try and say this isn't canon, I'm calling bullshit.
That has the right to be way more canon, yeah.
Well, excuse me. The other thing is, and Jesse just brought up a great point. There are certain things that you can do satire of, and it can be done well. Robot Chicken has done great satire of not only Star Wars, but of Star Trek. I mean, especially with Teal, with the original series, they did some great shorts of the TOS stuff. Like the one where Kirk and Spock and Sulu have to get a prostate exam by McCoy. I am sorry. Yep. I laughed my head off at that skit. Or another one where Kirk contracts an STD from a tribble. He has to go to all these different planets. Okay, talk about a man who will stick his privates in anything.
It always happens to the good guys.
And I'm just I sat there and I mulled over after I watched the trailer. I mulled over what I had just seen, and I'm like, they cannot be this infantile and stupid. Human beings are better than this. And then I realized it's from CBS. Complete. Yeah. Okay. And this might not be a terribly original acronym for CBS, but complete bullshit.
Well, these
It's no
are the
longer-
folks that
It's no longer a Colombian
these
broadcasting
are the folks
system.
that gave us a singing Spock
What was that, Jesse?
without
You broke
any
up.
legitimate reason. I said, well, remember, this is the same people who gave us Short Bus Trek, Star Trek, where we got Pecker Spock singing and smiling.
Oh my god, that was the worst. That was probably the most
Okay, I
insulting
thought that
scene
was.
in Star Trek so far. Either that or the pure fucking hubris scene.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, when it came to it, I'm like, I don't know who this disrespects more. The legacy of Spock or the legacy of the original number one. And, you know, just that crap was ridiculous. And I thought, okay, they can't get worse. Okay, if I'm going to say CBS has officially jumped the shark, I'm going to say Lower Decks is officially, they have now jumped the shark on Star Trek. I don't even think they care anymore. I think they're just, at this point, they are tossing their hands up in the air and saying, screw it. Somebody buy our shit. Somebody buy our beat, please.
Jesse, you missed it. They didn't jump the shark. They have violated the shark. The shark is over in the corner saying, "No more, no more! Get the hell away from me!"
Stop fisting Flipper. That's a Kevin Smith reference.
No, stop fisting Bruce.
That was Kevin Smith's first podcast. That's the only reason why it popped in my head.
Well, at this
It's a
point
good
right
one.
now, even Chuck Norris is saying, "Okay, man, even I've got my limits."
Yeah, only Chuck Norris can fight so much. He can only punch so many things with his chin.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't have a clue who this is supposed to be for. It is so they're making 10 30-minute episodes. So if it's going to be on a regular television area, okay, so 24 minutes, most likely. So 24 minutes, 10 episodes of what exactly? The bridge crew is going to be this larger than life. They do everything cool, kick ass. I mean, they showed what? The first officer captain ripping his shirt off like, "Oh, He-Man! Oh, yeah, man, we got him first. Contact, bitch!"
Hulking out.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Here's the other thing. I'm sure everybody has noticed at this point that the comments and the like and dislike features on that trailer have been disabled.
You're welcome.
I imagine.
Yeah, Jack and I were talking
sucker
about that one on
ratioed.
Twitter.
They were getting
Jack,
ratios all to hell.
Oh, Jack and I were talking on Twitter when he brought it up, and I looked on there and I thought, oh yeah, we can still see it, and we were shooting screenshots at different times, not consecutively, and then finally at one point, you know, we noticed he's like, oh, the likes and dislikes have been changed, and then I get in there, it's like, oh, they've turned off the comments.
Yep, I think we all saw it at the same time. I was watching Nerdrotic and Doomcock while it was going on as well. So, you know, we all noticed at the same time, and we all freaked out. That's the first time we saw them sweat. I think that's the first time we saw CBS sweat.
I doubt it.
Very quick.
I honestly doubt
it. Good evening, sir. Good to see you.
Because they're always trying to put on a show of, everything is going great, everything is going fine. Discovery is popular. Picard was popular. You know, this will be. Yeah, they've always tried to put that image out, and this is the first time I think it kind of got broken.
I guess the question.
Yeah, I think this is where we can all point this at. Hey, CBS, the sheer fucking hubris of you.
Right.
See, I just have this one question that's in the back of my mind, purely from an advertising standpoint, and that is, if you were to be watching this cartoon series, and let's say you love this cartoon series, you would turn around, oh, maybe I'm going to go and watch some other Star Trek. Let's go back to the original series and watch that. that person would fall the fuck asleep within 10 minutes because it's not meant for them. And, the two they don't equate to each other. They're not even remotely compatible with one another.
Right.
And again,
that's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
Is who is this supposed to be marketed at? You cannot tell me this is marketed at Star Trek fans, because I don't know a single Trekkie who wants to see this. If we want to see human or Star Trek, we already got it. It's called the Orville.
Right.
Yes.
Or if you want another fun one, we'll watch Red Dwarf.
Lower Decks. When I first saw the commercial for it, it felt like how I thought the Orville was going to be. I didn't think the Orville was going to go the route that they went, because the way they were marketed was like a comedy. So I was expecting the Orville to be like how Lower Decks is. And Orville, of course, surprised me. I don't think Lower Decks is going to surprise me. One of the things I felt like doing when I first saw it was putting on my mask, because I did not want any STDs from CBS. You know what I mean? It was terrible. I have this thing that I do. First of all, I don't want to give CBS a penny anymore. So
Nor should you.
Oh, hell no.
So I was at I was at Michael's, like one of these art stores or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And they had these things. These little they look exactly like tribbles. They're called Fox per
Tribbles.
pom-poms.
Yeah, I've seen those at Michael's.
Yeah, but I'm like, oh shit, tribbles. So I bought a few, right? And so what I like to do is every time I see something that I don't like on TV, I like to just throw it at the TV and shit, right? And so I'll be, like, I was literally watching Picard, like, like it was so bad. And that's how I was doing when I was watching the Lower Decks thing too, because it's just,
It's
like
horrible.
I'm a fan of South Park. I like South Park. And one of the arguments that people were talking about when we were talking about how Picard was overly vulgar and stuff like that, they were trying to say that, like we're being simpletons for not liking bad language. And it's like, it's not about that. It's about the fact that they didn't do that before. They did curse, but it was always light cursing. Damn it, Jim, or what the hell?
One damn it, Emerald.
The worst.
And only on a couple of occasions, shit.
Yeah, I think the only time they actually said shit was when Data, when the Enterprise was about to go into the planet. And by the way, a little side note: when I first saw that in theaters, it actually pulled me out of the movie because it was so funny. That point was so funny. It was such a dramatic scene. The Enterprise just blew up, or half of it just blew up. The other half is crashing into the planet. You don't know who's dead or alive. And all of a sudden he says, "Oh shit." And it just made me laugh. I just cracked up in the middle of it.
I did too.
It didn't belong there, in my opinion.
I could see where you're coming from, but I never got over the fact that the Enterprise got taken out by an obsolete vertebrae.
Yeah, that was
which we have. Which
it should have gone out better.
A few of us have discussed in length about the cruise liner.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to this whole Lower Decks, are they trying to say this is a canon show?
I hope to hell not.
Can't possibly. How can you possibly even remotely put this in?
You can't even say this would take place in the mirror universe, because these idiots would be dead in 10 seconds of being in the mirror universe, because the other officers and everybody else on all these ships, they would be ejected at the nearest spaceport, or not spaceport, but airlock.
Mm-hmm.
And like that idiot that is in the shuttle naked, They're like, "Yep, you're gone. Bye. You're nothing but a detriment to the Terran Empire. Bye bye. You're done."
Yeah.
Right there, I'm like, literally, you went there. Are they? What are they trying to do? If they're trying to one up the Orville, they are failing
horribly,
miserably. This is literally. I swear to God, this is how this worked out. They threw the idea out. This is how it went from the bosses. Good grief! And there goes Charlie Brown back saying whatever. That's how. That's how I can't hear anything else.
Okay, I cannot believe I'm going to make this illustration, but I'm going to make it. The planning and execution of the sequel trilogy has more forethought and planning than Lower Decks does, and I hate the sequel trilogy.
Ouch! Wow.
Ouch.
Okay, another one. I'll give you one more, then I'll.
Here we go. Here you go, Mike. Boom. Now that takes some balls to say.
Let me put it to you this way: the planning for Twilight had more forethought and planning than Lower Decks does, and I love Twilight.
Sure, I'll agree with that too.
And
I made a song. I once made a song called "Fuck Twilight."
Yeah.
By the way, props to Max Sterling if he's listening.
It's basically, as far as like the worst bunch, you have like the least compelling love story, Twilight. Then you get the Raylos, and now you have this. Dear Raylos, meet your king.
Raylos, hold my beer.
Look, literally. I mean, again,
I like this. I subscribe to Who Lives for Orville, but not one red cent for CB. I don't blame you. I can't imagine.
Man.
I don't see how CBS is going to be able to see. They have nothing in their catalog. I mean, what do they have in a catalog other than this failing franchise they are literally pissing on? Is there any other CBS show anybody can even think of they've heard of recently? I really can't.
NCIS?
That's their. I mean, Discovery was supposed to be their flagship show.
Yes.
It's not a flagship. It's a porta-john.
Well,
it's a porta. Oh, okay.
There you go.
Lower Decks. The hashtag for Lower Decks. A porta-john in space.
There we go.
Because here's the funny thing. You actually see a clip of one of the people from the Lower Decks cleaning out the waste treatment facilities on a holodeck. Yeah,
and I never understood that because in Enterprise they explain how they get rid of waste. Okay? Mm-hmm. They basically atomize it and then they recycle it. Okay, so why would you need a waste containment thing in the holodeck if whatever waste is in the holodeck is going to be atomized anyway?
Because they didn't even know how to access memory alpha before yesterday, maybe.
Probably.
The only thing I now hate about going to memory alpha is having to get past all the STD shit that shows up. Who knew going to talk about Star Trek I'd get a sex disease?
I actually I actually printed out the Wikipedia's Star Trek history timeline before STD came out. So I actually have a version of it that's safe from it, but it does have the oh man, there's some like cops or something out there.
I swear it wasn't me.
They found you. Better run.
It wasn't me, man. I swear. It's all legal here. Maybe.
Yeah. No, it's legal here. I'm in California.
You poor man. You have my pity.
So Yeah. So what I was saying was, I don't even know like what's.
I'm sorry, Grim 2's comment just made me laugh.
I've been avoiding the comments. Let's see.
Highlight that,
so
highlight
yeah.
that sucker. Highlight that sucker, Jesse. No, not that one. The one that the other one. There's a claim. There's a claim over there that Roddenberry wanted future Earth to be populated entirely by nudists. There you go. That's the one. Oh man, Grim, that is awesome, man. That is awesome to all ends.
Now my cheeks hurt.
Now you know how I feel
Yes,
from
laughing,
the other night.
son.
That's true.
When
That
here was
that
when
night
you-
was kind of messed up, and I wasn't even drunk.
well,
I saw that. I saw that gag reel. The ambassador put up. I thought that was hilarious.
and it was a collaborative effort.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
was a collaborative effort. But humor and satire are synonymous with one another, oftentimes. But it takes a very good comedic mind to carry it off well. Whoever has conceived of this and written the scripts and written the episodes has no sense of comedic timing or satire whatsoever.
But where is this show even getting aired at? I mean, what channel is it going to
I
be
think
on?
it's. I think it's supposed to be. It's going to be on All Access, I think.
Yeah.
So, what
They expect people to pay for that?
There's no international distributor though.
No.
And to the chat, just another
well, thank
nerd.
God
Of course
for
you
that.
would, you perv.
So I'm sure they'll eventually find one, but I mean, the fact that they don't have one at all, it's telling. It's telling because before, with Discovery, they got one right away with Netflix, and then they burned Netflix, and so like they had to move on to Amazon card, and then they burned Amazon.
And they burn Amazon. Well, great, you just burned two of the biggest streaming services, and you're a fledgling. Third tier? They're not even a second tier. I think. Oh God, what's that free one that's out there that is around? They even have more subscribers than what CBS probably has.
Well, let's see.
And you're
there's Tubi. There's
Crackle.
Tubi.
That's
There's
what I was thinking of. Crackle.
There's Crackle.
Yeah, I'd rather
There's
use Crackle than
Voodoo.
CBS.
I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter in the long run who's going to do this. Here's my problem with this just in general. This is such an abomination of everything Trek. Who in their actual right mind is going to get or have their kids say, "Mom, Dad, I want you to spend $5.99 a month on this thing"?
Nope.
This does not bring anything to the table at all. I mean, this isn't good enough to be Star Trek. Fuck, this isn't even good enough to be Star Trek Online. And you know what a friggin' embarrassment that turned out to be? I mean,
Yes, we all do.
The whole point on this is
it.
to make money. This is what business is there for. This does not do it. It doesn't cut it. It doesn't even meet the extraordinarily low bar of Star Trek Discovery. I mean, whoever presented this was a horse, and someone had their hand straight up the ass of the horse and was trying to move the teeth. This is what this comes down to. I mean, this is an insult to every single person that has ever loved Trek in the last, almost 60 years now. This is an insult to everyone that has loved Trek in, TNG. This is an insult to children who have never seen Trek. This is the kind of thing that we should force feed to Muslim terrorists to get them to divulge information.
And yes.
Oh boy.
Sorry, I'm on a rant. The more I think that this thing even exists, it pisses me off. I apologize to everyone on here. Yes, I know it's Quarks Bar.
No,
but
this is
damn.
Quarks Bar. Okay, yeah, I mean, and this is why I said this is a Quarks Bar special. This is not Tenfoward. This is
Okay,
just this is the most disgusting fucking thing I think CB. I mean, for God's sakes, what they might as well have just said, "Hey, we're gonna make animation porn Star Trek," which is pretty much what they pretty much are almost going for now.
The one thing that you have to admit is that they're being consistent so far. It's like
consistently bad.
Yes, exactly. Oh, first
you beat me to a jack by 2 seconds.
Here's Star Trek Discovery. They had a lot of promise to it, but kind of thought in the back of your mind, okay, we'll give them a chance, just like we do with The Force Awakens. And they turn around, they do that, and they get it, and it turns out to be a bigger pile of shit than The Force Awakens. Then it's like, okay, here comes part 2. Like, now, look, everyone, Jean-Luc Picard is back, or so says Patrick Stewart at that Comic-Con. Everyone started cheering. People were going crazy. Women were throwing panties. Dudes were throwing used condoms. The whole 9 yards. It was fantastic. Then the show comes out, and the man that is sitting there resembles nothing of what this stoic, rational person was in the movies and in the TV shows. Now says, okay, we're now running. We've made a mockery of Spock. We've made a mockery of Picard. Now let's make a mockery of Star Trek in general and turn it into this animated diarrhea of a damn show, complete with stench. You literally watched this thing last night, and oh my god, it's smelliation. It's going right from your screen straight up your nose, and you know what you're smelling. It's shit. Okay, I'm done.
Okay, all right. And here's the thing: you get something truly exceptional in terms of, if you want good sci-fi animation in terms of Clone Wars, and to a certain degree, Rebels. Everything is in terms of Star Wars. What have we gotten in terms of good animation in terms of Star Trek? You had Star Trek, the animated series, which didn't last long, but from what I hear, most Trekkies liked. Then
I didn't hate it. Yeah.
Okay.
It was okay.
Then you get Star Trek Lower Decks, brought to you by the fine people at CBS All Access. Yeah. Complete bullshit, all access, all the time.
Crap.
Garbage. Clone Wars, Clone Wars did not start off particularly strong, particularly with the movie. But it built momentum. It built goodwill with the fan base and the fans, and even people who aren't even fans loved it. I loved Clone Wars.
Same here.
And to see the level of care and imagination that was brought to Clone Wars, and see how much hard work was done on all levels by the voice actors, by the animators, by the script writers, and everyone across the board. And you get the impression that this was a labor of love, particularly the 7th season. And yes, I know people have had certain issues with the 7th season, and I understand that. But by and large, the 7th season was of Clone Wars, of season 7 of Clone Wars.
Actually, I thought it was perfect.
Well, and hey, that's your perspective, and you're more than entitled to it. You know what? For me, I thought it was good right across the board. Some people had an issue with that middle arc and everything involving Ahsoka and those 2 girls, the Martez sisters. They didn't particularly care for the Martez sisters and everything. But, that's beside the point here. You had an animated series like Clone Wars that people universally loved. And then you get this. Lower Decks.
The difference. I think the main difference between Lower Decks and Clone Wars, as well as the difference between Lower Decks and the animated series, is that the animated series and Clone Wars took themselves seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the respect for what came before.
Well, but here's the thing. You had humor. You had funny moments.
Yes.
You had...
Yeah.
Now, you didn't have, like, gags or anything because Clone Wars didn't equate itself to gags, but you had
Clone
humor.
Wars was not
You
a
had-
comedy.
No, that's what Seth Green was for.
Right.
Yeah, precisely. But you had humor, but it was appropriate to the situation. This form of humor that they are putting into Lower Decks does not fit with the rest of Star Trek. Now, you could make the argument that there is humor in Star Trek. I would agree with that wholeheartedly across the board, but it's more cerebral. It's a type of humor that at times makes you think. Because Star Trek is meant to make you think. Star Trek is not a franchise that you shut your mind off to.
That's right.
And and I'm going to say this.
Now, I will say that.
Go ahead, Jesse, please.
Now, I'll say this, Ambassador. When it comes to the Orville, yes, when people joke and say it's Star Trek without the stick up its ass, I will say this. It is more realistic to the kind of humor you would hear throughout a military day.
Mhm.
It very much. Those kind of, like when you had Ed and the Admiral talking, and he has that kind of thing. Yes, obviously one is his superior, but they've known each other a while. They have a little bit of a lax nature between them.
And
so
there's
you
respect between
have that kind
ranks.
yes.
Who the hell changed?
But
Who the hell
still-
changed my name?
The Weekend Star Trek. I don't know.
Who the
I'm the
hell
rant
changed
man.
my name? I didn't approve of this.
Yeah.
Jesse, change it back.
Grab your socks and hold your cocks, because I'm not done ranting.
Change it back, or I'll do it for you.
I didn't even know I could
Okay.
do that.
Let's do a comparison here, huh? Imagine you're at a club. You know what? The music's good. They're dancing. Everything's good. Star Trek as a whole is that really, really pretty girl that you notice from all the way across the bar, and she's gorgeous, and she's everything you want to know about. This
I was
particular
getting
one,
there,
Star
Ambassador.
Trek: The Lower Decks, is that enormous, unattractive friend that is right next to Star Trek. This has been staring you down before you've been staring her friend down, and the closer you get to her, the more she smells like feet and bacon bits. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with.
Damn.
Feet and bacon bits. That's an
Okay,
insult to
I
bacon
think
bits.
we're gonna have to. Okay, we are somehow gonna have to now set up a Quarks Bar to watch that first episode. Because now we
Oh,
have
man.
got to watch that.
No, Kronos, that hot girl's not a joke, okay? Not at all, because there's love for that hot chick, okay? You're looking at her, she's totally what you want to know about, but that ginormous abomination of a friend that's sitting right next to her, that's what you have to get through. And in order to do this, in order to get past that friend, you have to get your own friend of non-discrimination, who will go after that shit because what's the word I'm looking for? Doesn't matter, had sex. That's what you
I
have
was
there.
gonna say, wait a minute. Why don't you just have a few beers and take
I
the freaking
think
best thing?
No, there are enough beers
Mir?
in the continent to do that. You have to have extraordinarily low expectations to begin with.
Mir, I
Yes,
think
sir.
the term you're looking for is coyote.
I'm not entirely sure, because we don't have any over here.
Jack, I like the triple, man. That is awesome.
He's behaving
Yeah,
himself.
Just Okay, I can't
Kronos,
believe,
I'm
I'm gonna make
only
this.
slightly upset. Again,
Okay,
this
I
is a
cannot
bigger.
believe I'm.
Go ahead, Master.
Okay, I cannot believe I'm gonna make this reference, but it's from American Pie 2. Jack, stay the hell away from that tribble. That is a jizz. That is a jizz-free tribble.
Ooh,
Ah, very nicely
that
put.
was good. That was a good reference.
But no,
I
okay.
have my moments.
Kronos, the reason why I am so upset is that this is something that my father and I used to watch Star Trek on every Saturday morning, and up until the point, and my dad's been dead like 20 years, like this year, and this was something that we did every day, every Saturday of my life, from the time that I was born to the weekend before he died. This means a hell of a lot to me. Yes, I'm taking it extremely personally. And then it's my own fault that I cannot, that someone is treating this intellectual property so miserably that they would put something like this out that is not going to draw in any additional crowd. Not from the kids who don't have any money, and not from their parents that know better. This is beyond, trashing this series that I have loved since childhood is, this is beyond insulting to me, and I know I'm not alone.
I have a question. I haven't seen enough Rick and Morty to know, but is there cussing in Rick and Morty?
Yes.
I've never seen Rick and Morty, so I have no idea.
Okay, well, Ambassador said that there is. So if there's cursing in Rick and Morty, I'm pretty sure there's cursing in Lower Decks.
Oh yeah, guaranteed.
Oh yeah.
And as I said before, I like South Park and stuff like that. The problem is not that.
Don't get me started on South Park.
I have an issue with that. The problem is that this isn't South Park. This isn't supposed to be South Park. This isn't even supposed to be a comedy. This is supposed to be a sci-fi that, that has comedic aspects and dramatic aspects, but it's not. It's neither. It's neither or. It's a
sci-fi drama.
It depends on the situations and stuff like that. And so, I mean, when you watch Lower Decks, it's obviously a comedy. This is obviously supposed to be a comedy, and
great to see you, buddy.
Chef.
Anyway, but
check the Twitter feed, man, if you want to come in.
But yeah, so I mean, it's not that there's problems with that. The issue is that it just never was supposed to be that in the first place.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, when I look at it this way, I'm gonna go a little bit here. When Disney got a hold of the Star Wars property, and they did that show. What was it? Star Wars Resistance. And I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, okay, this is not for me. This is not going to be a Star Wars show.
2 seasons, and it sucked ass.
Well, what I was going to say was it definitely was not for me. But I did catch a little bit of it here and there, and did learn, okay, it wasn't near as bad as what I would have thought it would have been. I mean, it still was bad, and really served did nothing to continue the story of Star Wars in retrospect. But, I mean, they at least made something a little bit better than what is this crap, because at least with that, I'm sure they were trying to appease to a younger audience, obviously, but they still tried to keep it, I think, at least in the best they could in that aspect, the spirit of the ideals of Star Wars, like what we're getting with the Mandalorian and stuff. But this Star Trek Lower Decks, it honors nothing. It does not honor the past. It does not do anything to make us older fans or legacy fans or any of us want to come and watch it, and it sure as hell is not going to give us a reason to want to let our kids watch it.
It's not cutting edge at all either.
When you have people no, the last three, I mean, STD, STP, LSD, that's what I'm just going to call it. I'm going to call it LSD because I don't care. That's how screwed up it is. I'm going to say that's how screwed up it is. It's LSD. None of it children. None of it is family even remotely. And that is how my son has seen all of season 1 and 2 of Orville. Now, I know there are some people who would, I know it shocks people when they find out I'm a conservative Christian. I love the Orville and I love a lot of certain things that they say is, oh, you're not supposed to like that. It's like, you know what, screw you. Don't tell me what I can and can't like. So, but, it's a show that's great. And when my son asked me a question about the show, when he asked about, why are Mocklins only one sex? I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? That's actually a good question. Let's talk about why that is. That's no different than when in certain episodes of Star Trek where they talk about there are certain species that have multiple sexes. Insect species and things like that. They have. So there was nothing strange about it. I just love the fact that my son, he's not really into Star Trek, but he's really into Orville. So I'm like, there you go.
Yeah.
Like, we take the victories where we can get them.
It's the way they tell the stories, I think.
Yeah. You walk into this one, and the first thing that you notice is that, this show is 180 degrees out of phase with anything that has ever come before. Kurtzman or before that. And it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work. Sorry, go ahead, Ambassador.
No, it's okay. It's all right, man. No worries. It's just, it boggles my mind just how much stupidity we are getting out of the entertainment industry. I guess it shouldn't, but it boggles my mind how much stupidity we're getting out of the entertainment industry nowadays. You would think they would start to say, we like money. Maybe we should make something that will make us money instead of making crap. I mean, a lot of people have said Cinemax Star Wars is dead. I don't know if it's necessarily dead, but it's going to be on a very long hiatus for a while.
Right.
And I think television Star Wars, it has a future. I
agree with that aspect.
Absolutely.
I think The Mandalorian has proven that the fan base, and even casual fans or anything, people that may not be hardcore Star Wars, but just like good television, will support The Mandalorian. And
I really got behind it the first episode because I was like, okay, if you keep this up, I'm like, we're good. I'm like, you're doing something that feels like Star Wars. For the first time since, and okay, I've been very big on this that I've said. I don't like not the prequels. Sorry, I love the prequels. I don't like the sequels. I like Rogue One, and I do like Solo. And yes, I get a lot of crap for liking Solo. I don't care. I think it's a damn good movie. I just, once I get over,
I thought it was
once I stop thinking about him being Harrison, once I stop thinking about this guy playing Harrison Ford and just think about him playing Han Solo, I'm like, no, the look, the style, the feel, the way he does. I'm like, no, I'm buying him. And the guy who played the young Lando, that was really good. The only thing I didn't like was that stupid droid of his, and then I actually cheered like all hell when that little shit got destroyed.
And then, of course, it gets implanted into the Falcon. I would bet you money.
I thought that was cute. I thought that was kind of cool, though. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, and I'll bet you money that's who 3PO was talking to. Sir, your ship's computer has the most odd way of communicating. The most peculiar dialect. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Thank you.
No problems. But I know Jack wants to say something.
Yeah, go for it, Jay. but like I said, when it comes down to it, at least, when it comes to right now, Star Wars still has, under people like Dave Filoni and what's his name,
John Favreau.
the other
Jon
guy,
Favreau.
yeah, those kind of guys. The series I think, have a good future, and I think we're going to have a good season 2 of
I agree.
The Mandalorian, and but there still feels like there's a future there. I don't feel there's a future in Star Trek. I mean, you're going to have to stop and put this on hold for 10, 15 something years. You can't come back and do this 4 or 5 years later. It's going to still be too long, too fresh. You got to let this shit go. But they're just dragging it out, and all they're doing is dragging the misery. They just won't. They're just pulling this Band-Aid, putting another one on, pulling it off, putting it back on, pulling up on, thinking that something's going to change.
So I wanted to say that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to say that I actually, when I first saw Solo, I did the same thing. I disassociated Harrison Ford from it, just so I can try and enjoy it, because otherwise I wouldn't have. And I actually thought it wasn't bad. I actually liked the story of like how he met Chewie, and then they kind of like they had the whole Millennium Falcon, and then they didn't. I kind of liked it. I think if I asked my dad about it. I told my dad, like, oh, I saw Solo, and he was like, oh yeah, I didn't care because it's not Harrison Ford. That was the only reason why he didn't care. That was the only reason why he didn't go see it, because it wasn't Harrison Ford. And as we all know, Solo bombed. I have a feeling it's because it wasn't Harrison Ford. But if it, had they maybe had, done the facial, the digital facial thing, put Harrison Ford's face on them or whatever, get Harrison to like voice him or something.
Kind of like they did in Looper.
Right. Then maybe, maybe that would have been, maybe people would have come. Maybe people would have came to watch it.
Yeah, I thought like Solo was. Okay, Jesse, go ahead.
I think that if they had, I think that his facial features weren't a problem. I think that his voice needed to be deeper. If he could have done more of a deeper voice, like, more that area, I think it might have worked better. But we got off topic there. But, I don't think it was so much that. I think it was because it was fresh. It was 6 months off of The Last Jedi, and people were still...
That's probably part of it, too.
Yeah.
And people were livid. I mean, people were just mad. And people were all saying they were going to boycott Solo just because, how much that movie... And I said, no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Jeremy was the one who started that, right? From Geeks and Gamers?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Awesome.
As far as like Solo went, I thought the first half an hour to me was kind of painful, but the longer it went on, the better it got. So by the end, I'm like, okay, yeah, it was a decent enough movie. Jesse, is there any way I could get an enormous favor from you? Would you be able to put in on your Twitter feed a poll that needs to say, and then this is a guess for everyone. I'd like to find out what the actual answer is. And in kilograms, how much cocaine was needed to pitch this thing, and how much was needed to actually accept it?
Bravo.
Because this answer is not 0. And I'm done.
Oh, that was a good one.
I think guys, we're about ready to. It's almost at an hour. We're gonna. I think we beat this whatever abomination to about as dead as we can. And unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, I've heard of doubling down and tripling down, but whew,
Tripling down.
going this far, tripling down. I mean, I thought short bus trek was the lowest they could do, and now we're looking at this.
The laughing spot was the lowest at that point.
All right, I think we have. I don't know, Chef.
We have
Lower Deck is just a cash grab, dude. If that's a cash grab, I don't know where they're going to be pissing that money at, but it's going to not be there. I don't think it's going to happen.
How many, Teen Titans, Rick and Morty, clones are there right now on Adult Swim? I mean, this thing doesn't even have a venue. No one's going to pay for this thing because you can just go to Adult Swim on any other, whether it be on cable, on Sling TV, on
HBO Max.
Yeah, HBO Max, and they'll turn around and they'll watch it there
Which
along with other
CBS Viacom.
along with other really good programming. It just doesn't. It doesn't make any kind of sense.
This is the this is the comparison I'll give to Lower Decks. Lower Decks is like going to I'll put it this way, is like going to a gentleman's club on a Wednesday afternoon when the D-listers are up on stage.
No, that's where you show up at the
before.
Okay,
No.
That's where you.
It was called Northern California. Damn it!
This is where you show up to the nudie bar and you get that one girl whose left tit is a D and the right tit is a B. That's what you're going into. I mean, I know that's and I'm sorry, I'm not meaning any ladies who actually have that. I'm talking about one, like the one that couldn't afford 2 breast implants, so she only got 1. Yeah, and she's got to work it off in payments to get the other one. That's what I'm talking about. Okay,
mine was funnier.
6 more payments, and this tit is mine.
Sorry,
I guarantee you, it will not have that new car smell.
Sorry, Mayor, mine was funnier.
No comment.
Yeah. Sorry again. I'm just a little perturbed.
All right,
everybody.
Now,
when aren't you perturbed?
No,
hey, look, I knew this one was going to be a bit of a touchy subject because I know for most of us in some form or fashion. Oh, I know I'm not alone. What?
And he
You
ran
think
away.
my 13-year-old son hasn't heard worse?
Oh, I'm sure he has.
Hey, little geek, you want to say hi? No. But anyway, there you go.
Hey there.
Go away.
Yeah.
to
So
quote John
anyway,
Lovett.
I just feel we can get out of here.
Chefzilla. Chefzilla brought it. Good job, sir. Well done.
Chef.
Yeah, he's right.
Chef,
that was a good follow-up to mine. That was a good follow-up to mine, Chefzilla. Well said.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but just like the Chinese restaurants, that isn't chicken.
Racist. Racist. Mirrors are racist. Cancel mirror. Cancel mirror. Cancel, cancel, cancel.
Look, I went up to New York City in 2002 and I ate at this phenomenal Chinese restaurant. And then I went back to home into Florida, and like 3 weeks later, they got busted for serving cat. So I know there's a very real possibility that I actually ate cat while I was in New York City. And I'm going to tell you something. It wasn't half bad.
So, hey, at least it wasn't triple like they try to make in that short trek where they try to make them edible.
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that shit? Yeah, like terrible. Like why would you want Harry?
Where he was.
Why would you want Harry?
No.
Whatever the
worst.
It's all hair.
No. The worst one was that idiot who's like, "Oh yeah, we can take these tribbles and they got a low birth speed, but we can inject them and make them
inject
go
them with
faster."
human DNA.
I wanted to throw the tribble shit at the tribble show. I hated it. Sorry.
I mean-
Anyways.
Like, and I thought you could get worse than that short bus trek stuff. And then they pulled this LSD shit out, and it's just it's yeah. But I decided it's Friday night. I was like, we're gonna do a Quarks Bar special, but we are now over an hour, so we are going to
Oh, sorry.
we're gonna call it a night, guys. Anybody got anything going on? I know I have tomorrow. I will simply be introducing tomorrow on Let's Talk Tenfoward Roundtable. My wife, both the Rise of the Valkyries, Samantha Joe, Purple Valkyrie are going to be there. Eris of Chaos is going to be there. And I am going to have these lovely geek women talk to women of Star Trek. And I'm going to sit in the background and listen. So that is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be fun. I hope people come in and enjoy it. Jack, you got anything going on other than pissing off liberals?
No. By the way, a liberal pissing off liberals is a fun thing to do, to be honest.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've been doing it for 20 years.
I've been doing it all my
I've
life.
seen. Oh yeah, I've seen some of the stuff Jack puts up, and I'm like, man, I thought I was good.
Oh, you should see me when I'm serious. Like when I'm actually dealing with serious stuff. Like the Star Trek stuff.
Oh yeah.
By the way, I never consider the Star Trek stuff seriously because I do actual activism out in the world. And that shit is actually hard. This is fun. It's fun.
Yes,
and
I
that's
would
what
agree.
it's supposed to be. We're here having fun. Yes,
Yeah.
we're making yes, we're bitching about we're bitching about a show.
Exactly.
Yes, it's
Exactly.
petty.
And that's how
And
I
you know
take
what? It's petty, it's silly, and you know
But it's
what?
fun.
Thankfully, we live in a great place where we can have this first world problem bullshit talk.
Agreed.
Yes.
Thank God for a few,
I agree.
because we actually can take time to do it. So that is what I've got going on. Jack, you got anything going on?
Nothing else after that. Every so often I'll put out a blog.
I like blogs.
And every
Blogs are
so
good.
often you'll put out something that just makes me laugh my ass off.
I don't know. The only thing going on my end, besides, of course, me doing my schoolwork, is apparently there is a riot forming outside of my house with a whole slew of women with only one breast implant. So we got to wrap this up quick.
Where do you live?
oh, in the middle of Tennessee.
Oh, boy.
All right,
Oh, my
Ambassador, what do you got going? Hey, when do you plan on redoing your Ferris Bueller's Day Off watch party?
Ferris Bueller, I'm holding till September when my birthday rolls around, and we're going to do it then. Honestly, I'm
Sounds
tired. Yeah. Well, Ferris Bueller is something you should share around your birthday, and you know what? I thought, what the heck? And for terms of my channel, I'll be back this Monday with another installment of Afternoons with the Ambassador. I haven't figured out what I'm going to talk about yet, but I've got a couple of days to figure that out. And then I'll be doing that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Then next weekend on Saturday night, MB Geek and a few other people are going to be joining me for another installment of Ambassadorial Wing. And we're going to tackle something that's kind of fun, but also kind of serious, thought-provoking. We're going to be talking about how, and I'm just going to say it how I say it, how Christians interact with pop culture. So, got a good panel put together for that, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Should have a good discussion, have some fun, and everything. So, and that'll be at its normal time, 7:30 Central. So, be sure to tune into that. I have, as I promised, sometime before this month is out, I am going to do my 300 subscriber celebration stream. We're going to do 90s karaoke night. We're going to talk great bands from the 1990s. So I haven't figured out a date for that yet, but as soon as I do and put my panel together, I will tweet that out. You can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Instagram, and you can find me on Discord. So
All right, to the chat, Captain Trek, Darth Haster, Chefzilla, Grim, and I know I'm missing a bunch of other people
DJ
who were
Odyssey.
here.
Yep. DJ Odyssey,
DJ
Michael
Odyssey,
Evans, Michael Evans.
Michael Evans.
I think that's
Jedi
everybody.
Bill.
Yeah, Jedi Bill was in here.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, guys, I'm glad we all had the time to get this one off our chest. I know other people have gone out and made their comments. I think we all really sat down and established what we felt were some of it a rant, but I think a lot of it very valid points on why this is, just not what Star Trek fans, even casual fans, they don't want this, and definitely us diehards don't want this. This is not what we wanted ever. Yeah. So for everybody else out there in the chat panel, before I go, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Fuck Kurtzman Trek.
Fuck Kurtzman.
Amen to that.